Think about every time something didn't work out, the job that ghosted you, the relationship that unraveled, the opportunity that slipped away. Each moment felt like rejection, right? But what if those closed doors were proof that life was waiting for you to grow into the version of yourself that could actually sustain what you were asking for? This video is about that exact shift, from forcing to allowing, from readiness as performance to readiness as peace. Why we chase what isn't ours, yet ever notice how the harder you chase something, the faster it seems to run from you. You can almost feel it slipping through your fingers the moment you tighten your grip. A dream job, a relationship, a certain version of success. It doesn't matter what it is. The more desperate the chase, the further away it seems to move. That's because most of us were taught to confuse effort with readiness. We grow up believing that if we just push harder, stay later, plan more, or want it badly enough, we'll earn it. But wanting and being ready aren't the same thing. Think about it. There's this invisible line between ambition and alignment that's easy to miss. You could be doing everything right. Networking, studying, showing up early, doing affirmations, and still get nothing but silence in return. It's confusing, almost insulting, like life's ignoring your effort. But maybe what's happening isn't punishment or bad luck. Maybe it's protection, a quiet not yet, meant to save you from receiving something you wouldn't have been able to carry. Take Leo, for example. He spent years chasing a promotion. Every quarter he volunteered for extra projects, sent follow-up emails, scheduled one-on-one check-ins. He knew every metric by heart and memorized corporate buzzwords like talismans. When the position opened, he was certain it was his turn, but it wasn't. Someone else got it. The rejection stung so bad that he doubled down. More hours, more emails, more late nights. Months passed, and still nothing. The harder he chased that title, the emptier he felt. It wasn't until he finally let go, shifted his focus to doing work he actually enjoyed, that things started changing. A few months later, a new role opened at another company, one that matched what he actually wanted, not what he thought he needed to prove. Force disguises itself as control. It makes us believe we can outwork timing, that anxiety equals commitment. But deep down, chasing from fear is like grabbing at smoke. You end up exhausted, clutching air. Psychologists talk about this dynamic as the ironic process. The more we obsess over not losing or missing something, the more our brain locks in on that fear. In simple terms, desperation broadcasts lack. It says, I don't have this, and I need it to feel whole. Readiness, on the other hand, sends a quieter signal. I'm already okay, and I trust what fits will come. You can feel the difference in your body, chasing lives in the shoulders, tight, tense, gripping. Readiness feels like unclenching. There's space, breath, presence. When you're chasing, your world shrinks around that one outcome. Every delay feels like failure. Every no feels personal. It's exhausting because it keeps you rehearsing loss in advance. Forcing an outcome is like overwatering a plant because you want it to bloom faster. Instead of helping, you drown the roots. Growth needs rhythm. It needs time beneath the surface, where nothing looks like progress, but everything vital is forming. We forget that still seasons are part of growth too. You wouldn't dig up a seed every day just to check if it's working, but that's exactly what we do when we keep poking at life's timing, trying to make it move. And maybe it's not that you weren't good enough for what you wanted back then. Maybe that version of you wasn't yet built to hold the weight of it. Timing isn't a judgment call. It's a reflection of capacity. You might have had the dream, but not yet the nervous system to sustain its reality. Readiness isn't just skill or confidence. It's the emotional sturdiness to remain centered when the thing you asked for finally arrives. When you stop chasing, something subtle happens. You start creating space, room for clarity, for possibility, for what's actually aligned to find you. The absence of force invites what fits to flow in naturally. You no longer run after things, trying to prove you deserve them. You start drawing in the things that match your quiet conviction that you already do. So the question isn't how hard you're trying or how long you've been waiting. It's whether you've stopped clinging long enough for new possibilities to recognize you. Because what's meant for you rarely responds to pressure. It responds to readiness. So what does true readiness actually look like if it isn't about effort or timing? What true readiness really means. Most people think they'll be ready when they finally get what they want. The truth is, it only arrives because they're ready. Readiness isn't a reward that comes after achievement. It's the quiet condition that allows it to show up at all. It doesn't announce itself with fireworks or goosebumps. It's more like a calm settling inside you, a sense that you could live with or without the thing you've been waiting for. And either way, you'd still be okay. That calm is rarely what people imagine readiness feels like. Most think they'll feel pumped up, full of clarity and drive. But in reality, it feels kind of neutral, not flat, but grounded. There's no high to chase, no future to clutch at, no energy spent managing outcomes. You stop trying to convince yourself that everything will work out because you finally believe it doesn't have to look a certain way for life to still be good. That's a strange relief, realizing you no longer need to push the river for it to reach the sea. And that can feel odd at first. We're so used to associating progress with hustle that stillness can seem like laziness. When you're in that quiet zone, there's no rush of adrenaline, no dramatic breakthrough, just ordinary days that slowly become lighter, where decisions get simpler because they're no longer filtered through fear. What was once a battle to prove yourself turns into something much gentler, responding to what fits instead of chasing what doesn't. Take Nadia, a writer who spent years pitching her work to publishers. She sculpted her ideas to sound marketable, studied trends, followed every formula she could find. Each time she got a no, she rewrote her voice again, trying to sound more like whoever was getting published that month. The rejection emails piled up until she finally burned out and stopped. Months went by without writing a word, and then, one season, she wrote something just for herself. Unfiltered, honest, not shaped for approval. When that piece went out into the world, it resonated immediately. It wasn't that she suddenly became better overnight. It was that she stopped performing for an outcome. Her readiness appeared the moment she started being real. Self-acceptance does that. It creates alignment without you having to chase it. Researchers studying motivation have noticed that intrinsic goals, the ones tied to personal meaning, not external validation, tend to create more consistent, sustainable results. When you like who you are while you're doing the work, your presence shifts. You're not pushing so much as allowing things to develop at their own pace. The energy feels different because it is different. What's inside no longer contradicts what you're trying to call in. That's the gap between surface-level manifesting and true internal integration. Manifesting focused on outcomes says, I'll feel whole when I get it. Integration says, I already am. And that difference changes everything about how opportunities respond to you. One lives in tension, the other in ease. One tries to control, the other allows connection. It's like the difference between someone trying to charm their way into belonging versus someone who belongs wherever they go. When readiness takes root, emotions start to level out. You stop measuring progress by speed and start noticing depth. Patience comes easier. Rejection doesn't spiral as much. You don't cling to possibilities out of fear of missing out because you finally trust that what aligns will stay. The absence of urgency doesn't come from apathy. It comes from understanding that forcing timelines never creates peace. Readiness isn't loud. It doesn't come with a closing speech or a dramatic signal from the universe. It shows itself through small details: how you react to delay, how you handle silence, how you treat yourself when things move slower than planned. It's not something you build through effort. It's something uncovered when you stop performing for proof. Each time you release the need to control, a new layer of readiness quietly reveals itself. That's what makes readiness magnetic. It's resonance, not pursuit, an inner frequency that matches the experiences meant for it, the people, opportunities, and moments that belong in your story. Recognize that stability and respond to it naturally. You don't have to chase them. They notice you because you're no longer hidden by your own noise. So maybe readiness isn't about earning. Maybe it's about remembering the part of you that already holds enough wisdom, patience, and self-trust to meet whatever comes next. Your calm becomes your signal. Your peace becomes your invitation. But that still leaves one question. If readiness lives beneath the surface, how do you reach it? How do you move from constant wanting to that steady, quiet state where you finally feel prepared to receive? How readiness is cultivated in silence. Nobody sees the season you spent rearranging yourself, the late nights sorting through your own thoughts, the quiet mornings trying to make peace with what didn't go the way you hoped. Readiness is built in those ordinary, unseen hours where nothing looks like success from the outside. It's not glamorous. It's that slow, uncomfortable work of forgiving yourself, learning what you can and can't carry anymore, setting boundaries you never used to have, and finally, accepting that your timeline isn't supposed to look like anyone else's. That's the part most people skip when they talk about growth. They show the transformation, not the in-between. The in-between is the slog, the season when your life looks paused, but underneath, you're rewiring the way you show up for it. You start realizing readiness isn't about getting stronger or tougher. It's about softening where you used to force. It's about choosing understanding over judgment, even when it's yourself you're trying to understand. Most people want visible proof that they're moving forward, some kind of milestone or sign that justifies the effort. But real progress usually hides in the quiet moments you can't post about. It's in how you react when plans fall through again, or when you stop rehearsing what you'll say if someone finally apologizes. True growth rarely announces itself. It seeps in through acceptance, through the tiny, consistent practice of choosing peace over performance. There's a story that captures this well. Marin spent years caught in the same loop with her partner. Every argument ended the same way: blame, apology, repeat. She read books, went to therapy, tried to communicate perfectly, convinced that if she just said the right words, things would fix themselves. But nothing changed. It wasn't until she stopped trying to win at fixing the relationship that things started shifting. She began focusing on her own triggers, why she needed control, why she rushed resolution. When she stopped fighting life's pace and started listening to it, she noticed the dynamic quieting. Her partner did too. The relationship either evolved or ended, but it did so without chaos. What she learned in that silence was that peace doesn't mean you win. It means you stop hurting yourself, trying to force alignment. That's what integration looks like. It's not pretending the hard parts didn't happen. It's learning through them instead of running from them. When you stay with discomfort long enough, you start seeing what it's been trying to teach you. It might show you where your boundaries need to be, or how you've been outsourcing your worth to situations you can't control. Growth through integration is rarely dramatic. It's small, steady awareness moments that eventually stack, like layers of soil building depth for new roots. Researchers studying self-reflection and emotional processing often describe this as cognitive flexibility, the ability to see experiences in new ways rather than looping through the same emotional pattern. Neuroscience shows that reflection physically rewires pathways in the brain. Each time you respond with awareness instead of reaction, you're teaching your system a new route, one that leads toward calm instead of chaos. Acceptance literally changes how your body handles the unknown. It's not about surrendering control, it's about releasing resistance. That's where readiness grows best, in an environment where you're safe enough within yourself to stop forcing outcomes. You start to notice these micro shifts. A thought that used to ruin your day now passes without wrecking your peace. An unanswered message that would have made you spiral barely stirs you. Readiness is built in those micro moments. It's the accumulation of every time you chose alignment over urgency, presence over panic. Every quiet, "that's okay," instead of another anxious plan to fix. Over time, those choices shape your energy until you're not just wanting better, you are better equipped to receive it. And that's the strange irony of all this. The moment you no longer need something to complete you is the exact moment you become capable of holding it fully. When you stop chasing love from emptiness, it can finally meet you in wholeness. When you stop demanding timing to bend in your favor, time begins to move with you. Readiness doesn't arrive with fanfare. It arrives like breath, simple, steady, unnoticed, until suddenly everything that once felt heavy starts to move again. Now, when this quiet steadiness settles in, life begins to respond differently. Opportunities don't feel like coincidences anymore. They feel like recognition. The world starts to reflect back the calm you've built inside. What used to be a struggle to attract begins to flow, not because you've done more, but because you've learned how to stand still in the space where what's yours can finally find you. When you're finally ready, it finds you. What's meant for you doesn't respond to effort. It recognizes you by your energy. When readiness finally settles in, life starts feeling lighter. Things unfold with less strain, like doors opening when you stop pushing on them. You notice people, ideas, and chances aligning almost quietly, without the old sense of forcing outcomes. Waiting no longer feels like punishment. It becomes proof that you're growing into what you asked for. So instead of asking, "When will it happen?" ask, "Who am I becoming in the meantime?" Because readiness draws in what force never could. And life always meets you where you are.